Every single client I've worked with who went on to manifest something significant, the relationship they thought was gone, the income they'd never hit, the whole life that looked impossible from where they were standing, they all cracked the same thing. And no, it wasn't just learning a new technique. It wasn't harder affirmations or a better routine. It was learning something much more fundamental and, in my opinion, easier. And as you can see from the title of this video, it's vibrating correctly. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what that means. I'll share a story about one of my clients specifically, a client whose entire reality turned around once she understood this completely. So you can see exactly what it looks like when a real person does it. And of course, I'm also going to tell you exactly how you can start implementing this today. There is no thing outside of you that you need to wait on. Vibrating correctly is not some vague spiritual idea. It's the most practical, mechanical thing that there is. And once you understand what it actually means, you can do it on purpose. You don't need to wait on one single circumstance that you might currently be feeling like you have to wait on. That is myth. And I'm going to clear that right up for you in this video. If you're new here, hello, I am your Muse Traci. On this channel, I help you unlock the power you already have, but can't access. I help you break through where years of trying has failed. And the biggest hurdle of all, I help you go from intellectually knowing all of this information, law of assumption, to permanently embodying it, aka being able to use it. If that sounds good to you, you are definitely welcome to join me here and subscribe to the channel. So let me start with what everything is energy actually means, because the phrase gets thrown around so much that maybe it's lost its meaning at all, as I find happens with a lot of catchphrases, especially in this community. So at the physical level, it's literally true. Everything you can see and touch, when you break it down far enough, it is not actually solid at all. It is energy in motion. That's another principle I touched on in my Kybalion video, where I talk about the principles mentioned in the Kybalion. Everything moves is the principle of rhythm in the universe. So, for example, the chair you're sitting on, your own body, the phone in your hand, all of it is mostly empty space with vibrating parts, also known as energy moving through it, arranged in some particular pattern. Solid matter is the story your senses tell you. Underneath it, though, is all energy taking up temporary space. And the most powerful energy in the whole game here is not the chair or the phone, it's your consciousness. It's the state of being you practice holding. It's your awareness. Your awareness is the energy that arranges the pattern. And whatever state you are consistently in is the frequency everything else organizes itself around. And that's exactly what your vibration is. So strip away all the mystical packaging, and your vibration is simply the state you are predominantly living in. And even state I see getting misunderstood. So what is your state? Your state is all of it. So a lot of people think your state is just your emotions or your current emotion. No, your state is all of it. Your assumptions, your beliefs, yes, your feelings, your emotions, your reactions, it's all of it combined. That makes up your state of being. So the feeling tone you carry through the day, which is based on everything, mostly on your assumptions, right? If you're holding an assumption that is good, you're going to feel good. If you're holding an assumption that feels bad, you're going to feel bad. So it is mostly based around your assumptions. It is not the mood that, flickers in and out, or stays around for a minute and then kind of goes to something else. No, it's the deep background state that you keep returning to. That is your frequency. That is what you are broadcasting, whether you mean to or don't mean to. Now, when I was first learning about law of attraction, it was, things like you have to vibrate high so you're a match for your desires and like get into the vortex. And, it was all very mysterious to me. I didn't know, am I vibrating as a match to my desires? It was difficult. So for me, anyway, that was my experience. Your vibration is not a mystery that, you have to uncover, unearth somehow. It's the state, again, the state that you're in right now and the one you spend the most of your hours in. And you already know what it is if you're honest with yourself. You kind of know, where do I spend most of my time hanging out? Am I hanging out in, contentment, peace, love, abundance, or am I hanging out in dissatisfaction and waiting and longing and not having? Right? You kind of know. So let me clear up the biggest misunderstanding about vibrating correctly, because this is where almost everybody gets it wrong and then they tend to give up. Vibrating correctly does not mean being happy all the time, right? Again, this is something that law of attraction kind of instills in us. Like I was saying, be high vibe. That means you kind of got to feel happy and positive all the time. Otherwise, you're not a match. And then if you're not a match, you're not going to get your stuff, right? So we kind of got trained and conditioned to like just ignore, deny, suppress, deny, avoid, distract, and just do whatever you can to feel high vibe. Eventually that gets exhausting if you're just covering things up and denying things that are going on inside of you. So it does not mean forcing yourself to feel high energy and high vibe all the time. Like I was just saying, if you're not new here, I'm sure you've heard me speak about this before. Slapping a smile on and pretending everything's amazing while you white knuckle through your day, that is not what we're doing here. And that is not a high vibration, actually. That is a fake performance, and you can't fake the universe. The universe is you. You can't fake you, right? And underneath it, you're usually still in a state of lack, just with, that smile slapped on top of it. But it's the energy underneath that matters most, that matters, above any smile that you can put on your face. Vibrating correctly means you occupy the state of already having your desires. To desire is to have, as Neville has said. Meaning you understand how reality creation works, and you understand what is the causal force in your reality, and you understand that you are not hoping or wishing from a helpless place. You are selecting and therefore commanding your reality. So when you've made a decision about something, this is how it will be for me now. That's what it sounds like to make a decision. You don't need the evidence outside of yourself and the proof in order to feel that it is done, right? You stop needing that. You feel it is done the moment you decide. That's it. It's the difference between the energy of wanting something while doubting if it will or can or ever will happen, and the energy of having it now. And those two states, if you take a moment, stop, pause the video if you need to, feel into those things, and you can feel the difference. There is a palpable, tangible difference there. Think about the energy of wanting, right? Wanting, there's this reaching energy, this reaching out, this, it's tense. There's a hunger, there's a lack. When is it going to be my turn? When you want something badly and you don't have it, your whole system is organized around that absence because you can't get rid of your desires. And that's your frequency. And it's a powerful one. And reality will continue to match it perfectly. It gives you more of the experience of lacking it and therefore wanting it, more reaching, more almost, more not quite yet, right? So we want to move out of that. And to do that, I want you to think of the energy of having it. When you already have something, you're not reaching for it anymore. You're not doubting it or questioning it anymore. There is no hunger for the thing. There's a settled, calm, fullness that you're embodying, and you hold it easily because it is already yours. You're being the person that already has it. That's a completely different frequency. And reality matches that one too. It organizes the circumstances that match your energy of already having, and then it reflects back the having to you. This is how it works. So the entire shift, the whole thing is moving from the frequency of wanting to the frequency of having. And most people never make that move. They spend years just wanting more intensely, wanting harder, thinking that the intensity of their desire will somehow deliver it. I also think people are thinking that just like the mere passage of time brings things about. It does not. It's your state of being. You have to change the state of being. You cannot want your way into having. You have to actually change the station that you're on. You have to be willing to let go of wanting. And what I see sometimes is that there's a fear of letting go of the wanting, fearing that the universe will think, okay, she doesn't want it anymore. She let go of wanting, so she doesn't want it. We don't have to deliver now. You know, I see people talk about this. But this is exactly the opposite of how it actually works, as a lot of times it is. You have to let go of wanting completely, fulfill the desire from within by giving it to yourself, by accepting that it's already yours in imagination, in assumption. Again, you can do this when you understand the cause of your reality. You are the cause of your reality. Your assumptions are the cause of your reality. If you haven't done the work to know you are the cause of your reality, well, yeah, you'll continue to struggle here. So I highly recommend that you do that work. And the thing is, you've actually watched this principle work in small ways in your life already. I guarantee you, all of you have. You've just never called it vibration. Think about a morning that starts badly. You know, maybe you wake up, you're tense, you had a bad dream, you're already behind, you're irritated, and what happens? Maybe you stub your toe, maybe you spill your coffee. Gasp, no spilling of coffee. You hit every red light. Someone is short with you. By noon, you're saying, well, today just isn't my day. Well, you were on a frequency, and the day kept handing you the matching evidence of the station that you're tuned into. And because you just kind of keep rolling with that, it just gets more and more and more. And now think about the opposite, a day where you wake up light and settled and good and things seem to flow effortlessly. The parking spot opens up. The right person is just kind to you out of nowhere. Everything seems to go your way. It's the same world, different state of being, different vibration, different results, therefore. And I'm sure you felt this 1,000 times, right? Many, many times. What we're doing here is taking the same mechanism that you've already lived, you've already experienced by accident, and using it on purpose, on the specific thing you want, the thing that matters the most. And this is why forcing a fake high vibration does not work, because you can feel the difference. If you can feel the difference, the universe, again, aka you, can feel the difference. When someone is performing happiness over the top of their stress, you can see the strain underneath. And your own system works the exact same way. The state that is being broadcast is the real one underneath, not the one you paint over on the surface. So this was never about faking good feelings. It's about genuinely relocating yourself. You can do this every day. I don't care how you wake up. Every day you can have the intention to relocate yourself into the state of having, into the frequency that you want the whole day to match and mirror, right? So that the real frequency underneath is the one that you actually want. You're not subject to like, whoops, how did you wake up? Well, that's your day. It doesn't, right? I mean, we wake up how we wake up. A lot of times we wake up how we went to sleep. I don't know if you've noticed that. But anyway, how you wake up, I don't care how you wake up. You can shift it. You can deliberately choose. You can always deliberately choose So this is exactly where my client was when she came to me. So let's talk about my client. She wanted a real change in her income, and she wanted this for years. And she was doing everything right on paper. She was capable, she was working hard, she was putting herself out there, but nothing in her reality was really shifting, improving. And when we worked together and actually looked at the state she was living in, it became very obvious to both of us why nothing was shifting. She was living in the frequency of frustration. Why isn't this happening yet? Of when is it going to be my turn? I've earned it. Waiting for out there. She was waiting for the circumstances. She was living in the state of watching other people get what she wanted and feeling the ache of it not being her. Every single day, that was the state she was operating in. And, she just perpetuated it. She kept sustaining it, seeing more evidence, feeling more that way, seeing more evidence, feeling more that way, right? It was like this self-feeding loop, so to speak. And underneath all her effort, she was just broadcasting exactly what was being shown back to her, right? That is really always the case. I want you guys to know that. And her results were a perfect match to what she was broadcasting. She kept getting more of exactly that same experience. More waiting, more watching it happen for other people, more almost, but not yet for me, right? So the work we did was not about doing more. She was already doing. The work was about changing the state she was living in and operating from. We had to move her away from the frequency of wanting and into the frequency of already being the person who had, the job, the career advancement, the money. She already had that. So the first thing we did was get specific about who that version of her was. Not what she'd have, but who she would be. How would she move? How would she think? How would she talk? How does the woman with that career and that income level feel when she wakes up? How does she carry herself throughout the day? What is she no longer anxious about? What does she no longer feel the need to prove, right? So we built that state in detail until she could actually feel it. That settled, secure, it's already done feeling. That was the deeper feeling she was creating and did create for herself. And so that was the frequency that she was living in. The second thing we talked about was how she had to start generating the state from inside without waiting for the circumstances. And this is the part I see as very hard. This is why people get stuck in waiting and just having the passage of time go by and by and by. So I want you to hone in on this part especially. This is the part I keep mentioning in this video. When you know you are the only cause in your reality, then you can start to implement this part. But if you're still unsure or doubting or not convinced by all the innumerous evidence that you already have, and you're just going to keep, if you're not convinced yet with all the evidence that you already have, you're just going to keep waiting for more and more evidence to convince you. And I want you to know that no amount of evidence is going to be enough. So that's not the technique that we're using. We have to just make a decision to know who we are. So we discussed specifically for her how she could not wait until the job showed up to feel like the woman who had it, right? We discussed how that was backwards and that if she's the cause, she has to go first. And she has to go ahead and tune herself to the reality she wants to then see being expressed. She had to choose the having state first, and she had to generate the feeling of it within herself first and live in it while her outer circumstances still showed her evidence of the old version. She had to vibrate as the woman who had it before there was any proof. Now, the third thing was consistency, because your vibration is not what you feel for 10 minutes during your meditation. It's the state you keep returning to day after day, all day long, right? So her job became noticing all throughout the day which station she was on internally, not looking for evidence in her 3D, but just noticing the station that was playing inside of her. And every time she caught herself slipping back into frustration, into the old ache of wanting, she gently brought herself back to the state of the woman who already had it. She did this over and over, not once, every time she needed to, right? Countless times. She was returning to herself every single time her mind wanted to pull her out of that state. And I'll be honest with you about what happened next, because this is super important for you to hear, these stories of what really happens. For a while, nothing in the outer world changed. And she kept holding her new state. It wasn't a case of like she wasn't doing it, and her circumstances just kind of sat there. And this is the exact point where I see most people go back. They abandon, they jump ship, and they go back to their old frequency. And by going back, they cancel out the whole thing, right? So there was a week in particular where she almost did exactly that. Someone in her field, someone she knew, landed the kind of role she'd been holding out, as hers. She'd had her eye on that one specific role. And the old frequency came rushing back in. The frustration, the why them, not me, the ache of watching it happen for someone else, wondering when it was her turn, right? All the same stuff came back. She jumped on our call, ready to give up the whole thing. She was quite frustrated. She was convinced it was more proof that it just wasn't happening for her. And what we worked on in that moment was the thing I want you to take from her story. That person getting their role was not evidence against her. That person is in her reality and is therefore also her creation. Their result was not taking from her pile or her creation. There is no pile. There is no limited pile of good things. That's not real. That's lack. So instead of letting that news knock her back, onto the old station, we discussed how she could use it as evidence and proof of her reality shifting too. Every time she saw someone with what she wanted, she practiced feeling that is my creation. If I can create it for them, I can create it for me. Feeling glad, feeling happy because their having it was proof she could have it, right? It's real and it's also available to her as well. So I taught her that is also her creation. We don't need to feel someone else has it, I don't. If you're feeling that way about anything, this is an insight into your I am, your state of being. You are saying, I do not. And the reality, your reality is going to go, okay, you do not. More evidence of that. Observing someone else having something, you don't want to go, they have it, I don't. You want to go, yes, I have that too. That's what I have too. So she held this state of being. She kept living as the woman who had it, right? So we worked on pushing through this kind of delay and the seeming other people still getting it. It was good that we had this time together to help her kind of persist through that. It's not easy. Let's be honest. It's not easy, but you can do it. You can do it, you guys. You have to do it. You have to do it. Your only job is to control the reaction, control the state of being that's going on in here. As within, so without. If you keep letting the so without dictate what's in here, you are going to stay stuck in the loops that you don't want to be in. So, needless to say, things finally began to shift in her reality. An opportunity came through, a direction that she wasn't even really expecting, a conversation that led to a door opening that led to the exact kind of role and income that she had been holding as already hers. And the thing she told me afterwards, the thing that my clients always tell me is it came so easily at this point. And from a place she never would have expected, right? That's the thing. Your manifestations are effortless when they show up. And it happened once she stopped desperately wanting it and she simply became the woman who already had it. That's what vibrating correctly actually does. It's not magic sparkles. It's you changing the state you're broadcasting and reality reorganizing to match. So one more thing before I close, because I don't want you to misuse this, when hard emotions come up and I don't want you to think that you have to deny or suppress your emotions and pretend them away to protect your vibration. Suppressing your negative emotions just buries the old frequency deep within, where it's going to keep coming up when you least want it to. So that's not what we're doing here. We're not doing that. So in this process, I want you to let yourself feel what you feel and then deliberately return to the state you're choosing to live in now. Everything is energy, and your state is the most powerful energy in the entire world. When you learn to hold the frequency of already having what you desire and you hold it consistently, your reality has no choice but to become yours. Reflect exactly what you said you now have. So I've posted some other super helpful videos here in the closing out screen. Click on those to continue learning how to consciously and successfully create your reality. If you want my help learning to actually hold the state on the thing that matters to you the most, the same way my client did, that's exactly what we do in my coaching program. You can click the link in the description and in the pinned comment where you can book a free one-on-one call with me. We can jump on the call, discuss your specific situation, your desires, your tripping points, your blockages, and we'll see if we're a good fit to work together. Thank you all so much for being here, for watching this video. I appreciate every single one of you. I'll see you in the next video.